I was joking. Said that every time I put it off, it just gets longer and longer. Pretty soon I'll have enough messages out of it to fill the book. I'm going to start in Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. Now, I was trying to think of a title for this message. And it might not seem like a big deal, but sometimes the title says what's going to happen throughout the whole message. It's like a foreshadowing, or what do they call it in the books? No, we didn't books. But at least not regular books, medical books. All right, Genesis chapter 12, verse 1. Now the Lord said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, into a land that I will show thee. Verse 2, And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. You can be seated. Now, I'm going to title this with two titles. The first, I'm going to title it Coming Out of Comfort, and then Living Below the Line. Now, we know a lot about the life of Abraham. He's one of the great forefathers of the Israelites. He was, it always talks about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But Abraham, at his beginning, he was with his family, his kindred. He was all with his nation. He had to come out of there for God to use him. He had to leave what was comfortable. Now, I'm not talking about comfort like, you have a nice lazy floor recliner you like to sit in, Brother Rose, when you get home, and you want the kids to leave you alone while you play your games. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being comfortable where we're at right now. In all honesty, we should never get comfortable with what we're doing for God. We should always strive for more. If we get comfortable, it's like water. As water moves, it keeps going and going. It's not going to stagnate. But when it sits still, that's when things start to grow in it. That's when you get deadly water. How many of you does God want to use? But right now, you're just a little too comfortable. You're not really willing to step out yet. There's many reasons why people won't step out. It could be fear. It could be because they don't feel like they're worthy enough. But we have many people in our church. We can get comfortable. We can sit back and just let everybody else do it. We have many singers. We have plenty of good musicians. We have preachers even. We can all just sit back and relax. But how are we going to change anything? How is the church going to grow if we're not getting up? We have Sunday school teachers, but we could always use more Sunday school teachers, I'm sure. But how many are just, I would like to do that, but, I'm nobody special, There's nobody that teaches Sunday school for my family. My dad, he was a drunk, so, I ain't going to end up being nothing. But God has so much more. In Judges chapter 6, we find a man named Gideon. Now, Gideon described himself as, I'm the least of my family is the least of my tribe, and my tribe is the least of Israel. So he was saying he is the lowest of the lowest of the lowest. Now, he is nobody. Yet, the angel of God calls him a mighty man of valor. But to be that mighty man of valor, Gideon had to accept it and had to get out of threshing the wheat in the winepress and go on. And let me add here, the first thing that Gideon did was he went and threw down the altar of Baal and cut out the grove. Sometimes when we've been comfortable so long, when we decide to get up and move, there's some things we need to cut out of our lives. You know, you get too comfortable, let some things slip in, if you will. You know, he cut all that out and he built an altar to God. You know, sometimes the reason we are comfortable is because we got all this nice stuff around us that makes us feel good. Oh, you know, I would pray, but I just take all the time. You know, 3 hours on Facebook's really hard, so. You know, if it's important to you, you make time. You know, if it's important to you, you spend your money on it. You know, we can't do the will of God if we're comfortable where we're at. You know, and even if you're teaching Sunday school, you can become comfortable teaching Sunday school. Always push for more. You know, and when we get things in our life that shouldn't be there, we need to hit an altar and we need to cut them out. Sometimes the comfortable things in our life, Brother Simonson, they're hard to cut out. You know, might not be sin, but if it's taking us from God, do we really need it? But you do not have, everything has to start somewhere. You could be the change for your family. You could be that first one who decides to start teaching Sunday school. You know, my cousin and his wife and family recently got to church, and he was a pretty hard man. He drank, he smoked, he did all that. And I just went to a wedding this last weekend, and he was there as well. And just to see the change that's happened, you know, well, for a sinner coming out of the world, it's not as much comfortable for them to be getting in church either. There's things they got cut out. They got to quit, you know. My cousin, I looked at him and he had shaved his face, shaved his beard off and everything. And it is amazing to see what God will do when you step out. You know, a big reason why a lot of people don't step out of their comfort zone is fear. They're afraid. You know, they're afraid. What's Sister Darlene going to think of? And think of me if I start doing this. Or what if I fail? What if I fail? People's going to laugh at me. They're just going to think all this bad stuff about me. Now, Thomas Edison's teachers told him that he was too stupid to learn anything. He was fired from his first 2 jobs for not being suitably productive. He went on to hold more than 1,000 patents, invented the phonograph, practical electric lamp, and movie camera. Dr. Seuss, his first book got rejected by 27 publishers. His books now have sold over 600 million copies. James Dyson went through 5,126 failed prototypes of his vacuum cleaner, and all his savings over 15 years. But 5,127 prototypes worked. Now it's estimated 4.9 billion. You see, even if you fail, doesn't mean you quit. You know, too many times, you know, there'll be a bus ministry start up. It'll be going good. We're getting, 15, 20 in each service. Oh man, the holidays hit. Now it goes down. Bringing 5 in. Okay, we're still doing good. You know, a little wind out of our sails. Next week, they're not coming now. They got a ball game or something. New episode on TV. And we didn't get you this week. But next week, another next week. Next week, you don't even go out. You don't have it? You gave up. You know, there's that old saying, if at first you don't succeed, give up and cry. Go in the corner? No. Try again. You know, with fear, there's a good example of fear in the Bible. Esther's the entire nation of Israel because of wicked man who are going to be killed. There's a certain date that is going to kill every Jew in the entire kingdom. And her uncle, Mordecai, went to her and said, "You've got to go before the king and beg for our lives." You know, she being his wife, that don't seem like a big deal or anything, but you don't just go up to the king unannounced. You know, that's a death sentence, really. So she knew this. She knew this very well. You know, I guarantee that night she'd play, "Oh Lord, don't let me take my head off." You know, my wife would probably say I bite her head off sometimes, but no, he'd really take her head off. But you know, she didn't let her fear stop her from doing what was right. She had to get out of her comfort zone and go beyond her fear and save the Jewish people. And it worked. Isaiah 41:10 says, "Fear not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness." You know, no matter what has been keeping you from stepping out, it's time to move past all that. You know, God is coming back, and we ain't got time to play games. You know, we see this, you know, when I was a kid, they said, "Oh, God was coming back, the world's so bad." Now I look back at how the world was when I was a kid, it is so much worse now. I mean, you look on any news, you can look on the internet for any news whatsoever, and it is nothing good. All signs point to the end. You know, how many of us have missed God's will because we haven't been at where we needed to be? We've been living below the line where God needs to use us. Now say this is the line right here where God needs to use us. How many of us are living below the line? Or just enough below the line that God says, "Well, if that person could just step out, I could use them here, I could use them there." You know, it's kind of aggravating to me sometimes to see, you know, I go to hospitals and stuff, and you'll see these, you'll see Catholics and all these other denominations that they're fighting, they're standing up for what they believe in, but many times us Pentecostals are too afraid. We won't speak up. We won't say anything against immoral sins. Well, I don't want someone to look bad on me. I don't want someone to think I'm religious. You know, we've got to keep in mind who we are. We're the children of God. We've got the truth. And if we don't spread it out there, who will? We can't just sit back in our chairs anymore, relax, and let somebody else do it. We've got to get up where we need to be, cut out the things in our lives that are holding us back, and do the work for God. You know, I don't care if you're a preacher, a Sunday school teacher, or wannabe, there's always more in God. You know, if you fail, you will fail. It's going to happen. You got to get up. The Bible says a righteous man falls 7 times. Yet, he gets up again. You know, we don't need to quit because we fail. If everyone who ever did anything quit the first time they failed, nothing would have gotten done. If Paul had decided, well, you know, I'm blind now, I might as well just go crawl in a hole, I'm going to go to Ananias. I don't know who he is. The Bible would have been really different. God will use people that are willing. You know, we know the story of Gideon, but you know, he was still doing something. Even though he was hiding, threshing wheat, he was still doing something. And God knows our heart. If we're willing to do something, he'll bring up the opportunity to do it. Whether it's witnessing to somebody, knocking on doors, you know, just being a witness to somebody, or teaching Sunday school, doing a prison ministry, doing nursing home ministries. God has so much more than what we're doing. we can't sit back and let the rest of the world go to hell because we're comfortable. You know, what are we going to do? You know, yeah, we can, have our good shouts in here and feel the Holy Ghost all over, but if we don't take it out there, we're not doing what the Bible says. The Bible says, go into all the world. Not sit back with a couple of your Pentecostal friends and have church. We need to do so much more. This world's falling apart and they're hurting. They're looking for something. We'll think, they ain't gonna like the way I dress, and they ain't gonna like, not cutting their hair or having to cut their hair. They are looking beyond that. They're turning to drugs and alcohol because there's a hole that they can't fill with no matter of alcohol. They can't fill with no matter of drugs. This world is hurting, and we have the cure. How many believe that? That we have the cure in this house? Now, say you had the cure for cancer, and your neighbor had cancer. Would you keep it from him? No. Say to that guy that you work with, that you really don't like, because he's got a big mouth. Say he had cancer. Would you keep it from him? Cancer is a real bad disease, but burning in hell is worse. Living below the line, we've got to get ourselves to where God needs us to be to use us. And that doesn't mean we just stop there. It continues to go and grow. You don't just decide all of a sudden, well, I want to pastor this church over here. It's something that God will build you up to. We see that in the life of Joseph. Joseph, he had to come a long way before God could use him for what he wanted. And at each point, he could have quit. And the story would have been totally different. He was sold into slavery. He was sold to Potiphar. And there, he did good, worked good, got himself built up. He was second in the command of that house, over all that house of Potiphar. And then Potiphar's wife had to go and mess it all up for him. He didn't do anything, but he got thrown in jail. It's always a woman's fault, really. Well, the first recorded words of Samson was, "I saw a woman." But we won't go there. That's another message. But he had to keep on going and not quit, not just throw in the towel. He had to learn Egyptian. He had to go to prison and meet the butler in prison. And the butler forgot for a few years, and he came back to it. But at any point, he could have just thrown the towel and quit. But he didn't. And his story's in our Bible. If you want to change your world, you can do it. The Old Testament, the New Testament church, they talk about, well, these have turned the world upside down. How many people in Malden say, man, the Pentecostals, they turn the world upside down, man, there's something else. They come into the city and just, man, make it all much better. But we have got to be the change for our world. And we can't do that if we're not. There's John Trustler said, "No time like the present. 1,000 unforeseen circumstances may interrupt the future time." Now's the time. Not tomorrow. Not the next day. We've got to decide to make a change now. This world can't wait. While we're sitting in here, they're literally dying out there. I don't remember the exact numbers, but so many people die every minute of every day. How many of them are lost? How many of them will be the ones that were supposed to be the witnesses? You know, well, the Bible talks about we'll give an account for every idle word. You know, how many of our words have we wasted in just vain speeches here and there, just talking about sports? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but how much time have we wasted witnessing somebody or passing that person at Walmart and you feel something, you feel like, I might want to talk to them, but I need this bread real quick, and I got to get this milk home. But if we don't do it, we can't rely on everybody else. God has a plan, an individual plan for each of us. Brother Peck, he can preach, he can tear the house up. But that doesn't mean that he's supposed to take your place in what God has for you. Because we all have plans. Even the youth group. Everyone in the youth group can be a change. They can change their schools. They can change the places where they work at. Except for Michael, working with your grandpa, so he probably doesn't change the youth. But we've got to be that change. We've got to step forward. And your calling, your talent may be your job. It may be what you do. I know that some of you go out for your aid for home help. And you can witness to those people. God puts you in places to use you. God doesn't do things by accident. And many times, sometimes if you're not careful, you run from the will of God. He has a way of getting your head on straight. What you doing? But I want to do whatever God has for me. I don't care what that is. If it was to just sweep the floors at the church, if I'm doing it for God, that's what I want to be doing. I want to continue to be growing for God. So I challenge you, church. Don't just sit back and be comfortable and miss out on what God has for you. Go further. And just because you failed doesn't mean you should quit. Thank you.